Hi, Doug Andrew again. In this IUL Insiders training, my goal is to help you understand and hear things different ways. So I love to teach by coming at concepts different directions because, as I stated in the last episode, I want you to get it. Because this is so important for you to be able to understand how to teach your clients. That's why I wrote the Laser Fund, both right brain and left brain, because some of your prospective clients will learn or relate more by stories, metaphors, and examples. Others, they're like engineers. They want the numbers, the math, the charts, and the graphs. They're analytical and so forth. They make their decisions logically. Right brain people make decisions by the way they feel, okay? So let me dive a little bit deeper in this episode with what I taught in the last one on this concept of how we access money the smart way. And you've learned now that if you take it out the dumb way, that would be withdrawing your cash value or partially surrendering of the cash values. That's dumb because then you lose the ability to put money back into the contract. And you might as well have some grandfathered room to reinvest tax-free. There's also the huge benefit of the smart way to access money using indexed or participating loans because of the way money works. To be able to borrow money at 5% and keep earning 7% on your money. In other words, you can tell a client, keep it very simple, hey, let's say that you had $100,000 at a bank in a CD, and you go to that bank and you have the option of either withdrawing your $100,000 that's earning interest at the bank and going and developing your real estate or whatever, or the bank says, well, you know what? You can just leave the $100,000 here in this CD and we'll keep paying you interest and we'll loan you $100,000. Now, people would say, oh, well, that's only smart if you will pay me at least what you're charging me. True. But see, banks don't do that. What they do is they only pay you 1 or 2%, and then if you want to borrow money, they charge you 5 or 6%. So that's not smart with a bank. An insurance company is totally different. I can borrow money at 5 and they keep crediting me 7, 8, 9, 10, some years, like I shared, 25%. That's pretty incredible. That's unique to the insurance industry because they are crediting the highest amount of interest back to you again when you maximum fund an indexed universal life insurance policy. So this is very critical to understand and simplify for a client. But if you said, you know, a bank, if the bank would credit you as much or more interest than they're charging you, you'd probably leave your money in the CD at the bank. It's that simple. That's what you're doing with the insurance policy. Because you're going to have critics go, what? Borrow your own money? Why would you borrow your own money? Why? They're going to charge you interest. They don't know what they don't know. So you need to educate them. No, this is what makes the world go round. See, banks and credit unions, they're not viewed as evil generally, okay? They get away with getting on TV and saying, hey, why don't you consolidate all your loans here and have one lower payment for 30 years, okay? And they can encourage you to borrow money and everything else to consume, to go out and buy a boat or to remodel your house or whatever. I'm not saying that's not a good idea, but see, what are banks doing? They are borrowing other people's money and paying a low, small interest rate, and they're loaning it back out again, and they make millions and billions of dollars. All I'm telling you to do is be your own banker. And so this is what sort of precipitated or encouraged the concept of bank on yourself. That is the title of a book by Pamela Yellen. I know her personally, but she uses bank on yourself using whole life insurance. Whole life insurance works. To me, it's ho-hum because I know how to structure an indexed universal life, which is like bank on yourself on steroids. But they tout Well, you build up cash values in this whole life policy. And, the whole life policy is growing at 4, 5%, 6%. And then if you need money to go buy a car or whatever, instead of paying cash, you borrow it out of your insurance policy and then you pay it back to your insurance policy and you're paying yourself interest. Well, yeah, they show charts and graphs, but that would be like borrowing money out of a whole life policy at 3 or 4%. And they earn you or pay you, a little bit more, 1 or 2% higher than that. I go, well, what if you could borrow your money at 4.6 or 5% and earn 16 or 25%? Well, you would be risking, you'd be in a variable policy. No, I'm talking about indexed universal life. My money is not invested at risk in the market. If the market goes up, I make money. When the market goes down, I don't lose. Because my money is not invested in the market. And a lot of them don't understand indexed universal life because they think we're talking about indexed mutual funds. But if you want to use the concept like bank on yourself, or another associate of mine, Nelson Nash, he called it infinite banking, the infinite banking concept. These are all sort of synonymous terms. And so many whole life agents are taught these concepts: bank on yourself, infinite banking, borrow money, buy your car, and they'll charge you this interest rate and you'll make a little bit higher. You're paying yourself back. Listen, any of those illustrations that shows, hey, look how much you're going to be better off, just pale in comparison to if you used indexed universal life and you borrowed at 4 or 5% and you earned 7, 8, 9, 15, 16, 25%. That's what I've been doing for more than 46 years. And so this is what I call bank on yourself on steroids. So let's go through and make sure you understand one last point I made in the previous episode as it relates to grandfathering yourself to be able to reinvest back into the policy when you have this phantom loan balance. So I use the example of someone retiring and starting to take cash flow or income. So let's talk about how people really live in real life, and they retire or they need money to do certain things during their golden years, or maybe a business owner, or they want to invest in real estate. You can use a maximum funded indexed universal life for far more objectives than retirement. And so many business owners use this for working capital for business. Many real estate investors use this to be able to tie up real estate, buy it, and then they fix it up, they sell it. This is their account, like their slush fund. This is where they put their working capital, and they put it over here in their indexed universal life policy, and they're borrowing sometimes 2 and 3 times a year. They borrow it out. Do they have to pay that back? No. But they do, because once they buy the piece of property, fix it up and sell it, before they find the next one, they go, where do I put this money? Well, they don't put it in a bank earning 1%. Why would you do that? You put it back into the insurance policy. So if I borrow $200,000 or I borrow $100,000 a year for 5 years, 10 years, now I have this phantom loan balance that's not due and payable of $1 million or $200,000. It doesn't matter at what point in time. If I have that loan balance and I have new money, I can deposit it back into the insurance policy. And I can either say this is new money if I haven't maximum funded it yet. I could say this is new money to meet the GSP, the guideline single premium within the TAMRA limits. Or I can say this is the loan repayment. I would generally say that if you have a loan balance and you have new money that you want to put into the contract, that most of the time it would behoove you to call it a loan repayment rather than a new premium deposit. But a licensed advisor can do an analysis to show you which one would be better. Generally speaking, I would recommend that if you're going to put new money or you have cash that you want to pay back or put into the policy, that you pay off any existing loans first, because it's really not a loan in the normal sense of the word. You're simply reinvesting, and you're eliminating the 5% interest, and now you're earning the entire amount of compound interest on the indexing. Does that make sense? What is really neat is you wouldn't believe how many times retirees have come to me and they have new money. My own father-in-law, when I was setting up his maximum funded universal life policy, I went through everything he had, and he said, nope, this is all I will ever have. And I said, okay, you really don't think there's going to be something coming? No. So we squeezed down the bucket, the insurance contract, and we accommodated it, and we were able to put the money in, and we maximum funded it. Lo and behold, it wasn't even 2 years later, and somebody offered him some cash for a lot that he owned, and then he subdivided another one. And all of a sudden, he's got $300,000-$400,000 he doesn't know what to do with. And he goes, Doug, what should I do with this? And I went, okay, we should have looked at that because he wasn't healthy enough then. But I was able to use a surrogate. I was able to put it on his wife and also some of his children. So you can do new investments later. I wouldn't recommend you structure an index universal life insurance policy so big that you probably won't have the money. But when I sit down with clients, I look at the repositionable assets they will likely have in lump sums or monthly deposits for the next 11 years. Why 11? Because that's the time period for the GSP. And they can continue to do it for more than that many years. But if it's something pie in the sky or we're not sure of, I won't make room for it. I'll wait till we cross that bridge. But if it's pretty sure it's an impending event, they're going to inherit some money sooner or later, they're going to sell that building or those apartments sooner or later, it's better to make room for that. So many times people have had the possibility of selling a property, inheriting money, whatever, and they know it's going to be at least $500,000 or $1 million. And so we make room for it in the existing IUL, and maybe they're not maximum funding at the first few years. They're nursing it along, but see, we're getting the TAMRA rule satisfied. It's because if you don't use the room, you don't lose it. So if you could put in $100,000 a year and you don't, you only put in $10,000 or $20,000, you have all that room that's accumulating. So many times I've had clients who have put in $20,000. They could have put in $100,000 a year. And so they put in 20, 20, 20, 20. So at the end of 4 years and 1 day, they've put in $80,000 into a policy that could accommodate $500,000. So how much room do they have? 420. Now they get their windfall. They can write out a check and dump in the whole $420,000 in one fell swoop. Did they violate TAMRA? No. Wait a minute. I thought TAMRA only allows you to put in $100,000 a year. Yeah, but if you don't use the $100,000 of room, you don't lose it. So they make up for it and they hit the ground running. That's the same concept. If you are taking money out for retirement income or business purposes, and you have this loan balance, you don't ever have to pay it back. But if you have new money, you can do it because the insurance company just says, oh, so-and-so is reinvesting $1 million or $2 million back into this policy. Do they have the room to do that? Oh yeah, they have this phantom loan balance. They're just repaying a loan because the IRS says, just call it a repayment of a loan that you really didn't have to pay off during your lifetime. Now, is this incredible? If you really understand the dynamics of structuring indexed universal life to be able to be so flexible that you can minimum fund it for several years and then maximum fund it in one fell swoop, you can take money out. You don't have to put it back. You can put it back if you want. You're grandfathered. If Congress changes the laws, you're still protected. It's tax-free. You can put money in, take it out. Talk about infinite banking on steroids. You borrow your money at 5% and you keep earning some years 16 or 25%. When I teach this to audiences and professionals and CPAs, they just sit there like, I've never heard of this before. Well, in my circles, it's common. It's how money really works. When people say, this sounds scary, then you are saying your bank, your credit union, businesses, or business owners leverage. See, leverage is being able to own and control assets with very little or none of your money tied up or at risk in that asset. And the best way to leverage is with full liquidity. I keep liquid with cash in the policy or wherever I put it, but I'm able to leverage using the insurance company's money, borrowing their money because it's collateralized with my money that they have on deposit. And the way we're doing it is they're paying me way higher interest generally than they are charging me. And this spread is what allows an insurance company to be able to, on their general account portfolio, if they're only earning 5%, with indexing, they credit you 7 and 8% or higher. But if you're only earning an average of 7 or 8, you can take out 9 or 10. On $1 million, you can take out $100,000 a year. If you ask most people, how can an insurance company that's only earning 5% average on their general account portfolio afford to pay you 7 or 8%, but allow you to take out 10% a year and not deplete principal? Most advisors would go, they can't. That's impossible. No, it's extremely possible. I've been doing it for years, especially with Index Universal Life since 1997. So hopefully you're getting this, and in the book you can look at different examples and study how this is done. But if you're interested in teaching a sophisticated client about how money really works and how you can have interest work for you instead of against you, and be able to earn rates of return greater than the cost of the funds, my heavens. How do I simplify it? Would you buy a widget machine for $50,000 that made you an extra $100,000? Yep. Would you hire an employee for $50,000 that made you an extra $100,000? I'll do that all day long.